Differences between Buddhism in India and Buddhism in other East Asian countries. Buddhism is a major world religion that originated in India over 2,500 years ago. Over time, Buddhism has spread to many different parts of the world, including East Asia, where it has taken on distinct regional characteristics. In this essay, we will explore the differences between Buddhism in India and Buddhism in other East Asian countries. Historical context. Buddhism first spread to East Asia in the 1st century CE, when Buddhist missionaries from India traveled to China and other neighboring countries. Over time, Buddhism in East Asia developed into several distinct schools and traditions, each with its own unique teachings and practices. Differences in teachings and practices. One of the main differences between Buddhism in India and Buddhism in East Asia is the emphasis on different teachings and practices. For example, in India, Buddhism is primarily associated with the Theravada or Hinayana tradition, which emphasizes individual liberation from suffering and the attainment of nirvana. In contrast, Buddhism in East Asia is primarily associated with the Mahayana tradition, which emphasizes the importance of compassion and the bodhisattva path, which involves working for the enlightenment of all beings. Another key difference is the role of ritual and devotional practices in Buddhism in East Asia. In many East Asian countries, such as China, Japan, and Korea, Buddhism has incorporated elements of local folk religions and ancestor worship, which involve the use of rituals and offerings to ancestors and deities. These practices are less common in Indian Buddhism, where the emphasis is more on individual practice and the attainment of enlightenment. Another area of difference is the use of meditation practices in Buddhism. While meditation is an important practice in both Indian and East Asian Buddhism, the specific techniques and approaches to meditation can vary. For example, in India, the emphasis is often on mindfulness meditation, which involves cultivating awareness of one's thoughts and experiences. In contrast, in East Asia, the emphasis is often on visualization practices, such as the meditation on Amitabha Buddha in Pure Land Buddhism. Regional differences. Within East Asia, there are also regional differences in the practice of Buddhism. For example, in China, Buddhism has developed into several distinct schools, including Chan, Zen Buddhism, Tiantai Buddhism, and Pure Land Buddhism. Each of these schools has its own unique teachings and practices, but they all emphasize the importance of mindfulness and meditation. In Japan, Buddhism has also evolved into several distinct schools, including Zen Buddhism, Pure Land Buddhism, and Nichiren Buddhism. Zen Buddhism, in particular, has had a significant influence on Japanese culture, art, and philosophy. In Korea, Buddhism has also developed into several distinct schools, including Jogi, which emphasizes the importance of meditation, and Won Buddhism, which incorporates elements of Confucianism and Taoism. Conclusion. In conclusion, there are significant differences between Buddhism in India and Buddhism in East Asia. These differences include the emphasis on different teachings and practices, the role of ritual and devotional practices, and the use of different meditation techniques. Within East Asia, there are also regional differences in the practice of Buddhism, with each country developing its own distinct schools and traditions. Despite these differences, however, Buddhism remains a major world religion that continues to inspire millions of people around the world. Here are some additional points about the differences between Buddhism in India and East Asia. In India, Buddhism is often associated with the Pali Canon, which contains the earliest Buddhist teachings. These teachings emphasize the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, and focus on individual liberation from suffering. In East Asia, however, Buddhism has developed